Hello everyone, I am Ms. Amruta Jadhav ma'am, your physics teacher, and I am welcoming you all to the series of lectures of physics in which we are dealing with wave optics. In wave optics, we have covered 4 parts of it, and now we are dealing with part 5, in which we are going to see some terms and some phenomena which are related to interference. So let's start with part 5, which deals with interference. We have seen some basics terms of interference in part 4 also, and the details about it we are going to see today. Right, so let's move towards video and to move towards the next point. Before moving, as usual, we are going to remind what we have done in yesterday's lecture. So what we have done in yesterday's lecture, obviously interference, the basic concept of interference that we have seen. That means sometimes the intensity, sometimes the amplitude and displacement is zero, or it varies at the points, and the points which are nothing but the two types of interference, and the band which is forming by interchanging the displacement and interchanging the amplitude, the complete concept is known as interference. And basically we are getting a band over there which is having some kind of bright and some kind of dark fringes and dark bands, which is combinedly known as interference. After that, we have seen the types of interference. How we distinguish the types of interference? When two waves or two or more waves interfere with each other, what exactly happens? They may consider two conditions. First condition is when both the two waves are incidenting on the same path. That means when crest is falling on crest and when trough is falling on trough, they are giving us a constructive interference in which the amplitude is maximum and displacement is also maximum. But exactly opposite happens in destructive interference, in which when two or more waves interfere, when crest of one wave falling on trough of another, they are giving us a destructive interference, and resultant displacement that is given by destructive is always zero. So obviously amplitude will be minimum. So this is the combinedly known as interference. So these are the two types, constructive and destructive. In case of constructive, we are getting bright fringes or bright bands, and in case of destructive we are getting dark fringes or dark band. And the distance between two successive bright bands or two successive dark band is known as bandwidth. That has been derived by using an experiment whose name is Young's double slit experiment. That also we have seen. And before moving towards the double slit experiment, we have seen coherence of light. What is exactly coherence of light? That means they are in phase. The 2 points which are there, they are in phase at same time, at constant time. That is nothing but coherence of light. Now, by looking at all these 4 points, we are moving towards our today's lecture. And to move forward for the today's lecture, we have to consider, or we have to remind some terms which are considered in previous lecture, which we right now we have discussed. That means constructive, bright fringes, amplitude, intensity, what was the relation between them, that we have to remind. So I hope we have remind all these things, and let's move towards the first point which we are going to see today is intensity distribution. Then condition for steady interference pattern, methods to get coherence light or coherent light, and last point is optical path. By covering all this point, we are going to finish the phenomena which is known as interference, basic phenomena, and we are going to apply that to the next part, or we are going to derive some derivations, and we are going to apply on the numericals all this concept. Okay, so let's move towards the first point, which is intensity distribution. As the word itself says, intensity distribution, that means there should be the distribution of intensity, but where, as we have seen the diagram, which is geometrical diagram, where S1 and S2 are the two slits, then the light wave is moving forward from S1 and S2, is getting at a single point. We are going to consider a single point at which either bright point is forming or dark point is forming. And at that point, what will be intensity when bright is forming and when dark is forming? That is, we are going to describe in this derivation. Alright, so let's move towards it. Now, firstly, they have considered constructive interference. In case of constructive interference, what will be the? Yes, it will be the bright fringes, and then amplitude will have twice that of original wave incident on it. So, amplitude will be twice. But as we know, intensity is proportional to what? Square of the amplitude. But already amplitude is what? Twice. So, square will be fourth of the amplitude, and we are going to consider the initial amplitude as I0. Then what will be the final? That will be 4I0. This is when we are considering constructive interference and bright fringes. But what happens if destructive interference happens? At that time, dark fringes will obtained and intensity will be 0. So the intensity varies between 0 and 4I0. This is the main concept of intensity distribution. Intensity varies from 0 to 4I0. That you have to remember. This is important term. Okay. Now we are going to consider the equations, mathematical equation. First is when the wave is coming from S1 up to P, that will be having some different amplitude. Suppose we are considering the amplitude as constant, it is having some intensity. And when the wave is coming from the second slit, which is S2, it will be have another one. So the first one is even is equal to E0 sine omega t from the first point, which is S1. But when we are going to consider about S2, that will become afterwards. So that will be E2 is equal to E0 sine of omega t plus phi. Phi is phase difference by which it is lagging behind. Okay. So as we have seen, E0 is nothing but mod of E0 square. I0 is equal to mod of E0 square. Now to consider that, we have to find out the resultant. So E will be even plus E2. What is even? E0 sine omega t. What is E2? This. So we are going to add both of them. And by solving this equation, that means sine of A plus B, and then by deriving all the equation, we are getting a final equation as twice E0 cos of phi by 2 sine of omega t plus phi upon 2, in which this twice E0 cos of phi by 2 is nothing but this amplitude. So the amplitude is twice E0 cos of phi by 2. But as we have seen, I0 is proportional to square of the amplitude. So that should be proportional to square of it. So twice E0 cos phi by 2's square. Square of 2 is 4. Square of mod of E0 here. Square of mod of E0 is nothing but I0. So 4I0 square of cos is cos square phi by 2. So this is it. Amplitude, intensity, here it is. Alright. So in this case, that as we have seen, E0 that was equal. But when the amplitude is not equal, then what will happen? It will be different. So different means, suppose it is going from first one, so let us consider it as even 0. And when it is coming from the second slit, by considering it as E2 0. So in this case, bright and dark band will be different. They will not be same. They will not give you the steady interference pattern. They may be different because the amplitude is not same. so it will destruct something. So let us consider at bright fringes, amplitude will be addition of both, intensity will be square of it. While at dark fringes, what will happen? Here the pattern is not steady, so we cannot say that intensity is 0. So we are going to consider intensity not to be 0, and it will be proportional to subtraction, square of subtraction of them. Why it is not 0? Because amplitude is not same. That's why dark and bright fringes are not equally spaced. So that's why we are not saying that intensity will be 0. Alright, so this is all about the intensity distribution. Next point, which is very important point, which is condition of obtaining well defined and steady interference pattern. This is really very important, and it always asked in board exams for 3 or 2 marks. It is very easy to remember. Let's see what is that. Condition for obtaining well defined and steady interference pattern. By using our common sense, we can say that we are getting a steady interference pattern. So what basic thing should be there? Wavelength should be same, amplitude should be same, two waves, two light waves should be in same phase, they should have same state of polarization, they should be in same direction, that means polarization should be same. These all are the basic things. Now we are going to see what are there in it. Okay, the two sources of light should be coherent. Basic and very important term that we have already seen. Coherent. What is meaning of coherent? I guess we have seen in the previous lecture. What is coherence means? Coherence means we are getting a phase difference to be same, or constant phase difference is there. Obviously phase difference should be same, only that at that condition we will get steady pattern of it. If the phase difference varies, what happens? Maxima and minima will not be the same, they will not be at the equally spaced. So that's why to get some steady pattern we should get coherence. Alright, next is two sources of light must be monochromatic. What is meaning of monochromatic? Monochromatic means wavelength of two light sources should be same. Why it is that? Because wavelength will give you the color of light. If two color interact, they will simply interfere with each other, they will not give you some pattern. When two light sources of the same color will interfere with each other, they will give you maxima and minima, that means dark and bright fringes. In that case only you are getting an interference pattern. So this is very basic and important condition to get steady pattern, which is two sources of light should be monochromatic. Okay, next is two interfering wave must have same amplitude. Obviously we have seen that. Right now we have seen if amplitude will not be same, maximum minima will not be at the same time, they will not equally spaced. Space between dark and bright fringes will be different, so it will be very difficult to find out all the terms which are related to interference band. So amplitude also should be same. The separation between two slits must be small. The separation which is there inside two slits should be small, because to interfere two waves it will be very easy. If the distance between them increases, what happens? They will not try to interfere, and when they will interfere we will get a blur pattern. We are not getting a perfect pattern as we want. So the separation between two slits must be small. Also the distance between source and screen should be as large as possible, because it will give you a perfect reading and perfect interference band. Next is the two slits should be narrow. Obviously the two slits should be narrow. If it is not narrow, what will happen? If it is splitting, then you will not get the interference pattern, or the waves will not interfere with each other. If it is narrow, then and only then you will get a pattern what we want. Narrowing means it should be like a single beam, then you will get the pattern. Okay, the next one is the two waves should be in same state of polarization. All right, this is very basic. Polarization, state of polarization should be same. Polarization concept that we have learned in lecture 3, I guess. Yes, so the state of polarization for both the sources should be same. Okay, so these are the necessary conditions to get a steady interference pattern. What was that? First one is two sources should be coherent, should be monochromatic, it should have same amplitude, it should be narrow, then it should be in same state of polarization, and the distance between two slits must be small, and the distance between source and screen should be large. So these are the conditions to form a interference pattern, steady and well defined pattern. Okay, I hope you all get that. It is very easy questions and it may ask in a board exam, so you have to learn this question. It is important question. So let's move towards the next point, which is, as we have seen, the basic thing to get an interference pattern is nothing but two sources should be coherent. But how to get the coherent sources? If we get two sources, then by some technical issues there will not be coherence. So to get the coherent sources, what methods we should follow? So the first method that we are going to discuss is Lloyd's mirror. This Lloyd's mirror method that we are going to see. What is that? As it is a mirror, what will happen if we put a source in front of it? A light will get reflected, and sometimes it will directly goes towards the screen, and sometimes it will go by reflecting on the mirror. But when it got reflected, we can see, or a virtual image is forming, or virtual source of light we can see. That will give you two sources, one is real and second one is virtual. So both should be coherent because second one is obtained by the first one itself, that is virtual. So this is nothing but the idea about Lloyd's mirror. Let's see what exactly happens in that. The light from source is made to fall at grazing angle on a plane mirror. Here is the plane mirror, this is the plane mirror, this is the screen, and the interference pattern that we are getting is here. Alright, when the real source is next to it, some of the light is falling directly on the screen, which is by blue line. See over here, this is directly going towards screen. Even this blue line directly moving towards it. But what gives you the red lights? Red light is falling first on the mirror and then reflecting to the screen. Alright, so the light, some of the light falls after reflection, which is given by red lines. The reflected light appears to come from the virtual source. It is appears to come from the virtual source. So we are getting a two sources. First one is real and second one is virtual. So obviously they are coherent sources. So this is the idea about Lloyd's mirror. So let's move towards the next method. By moving towards the next method, which is to get coherent source or coherent sources of light itself, is nothing but Fresnel's biprism. It is discovered by a scientist whose name is Fresnel. So this is named after him. So this is Fresnel biprism. As the word biprism is there, so two prisms are joined together to give you a single prism. This biprism is a prism with vertex angle of nearly 180 degree, and it can be considered to made up of two prisms with very small refractive angle, which is ranging from 30 minute to 1 degree. These are the main important points that I have underlined. What is the basic things? biprism means two prisms are joined together whose refractive angles is ranging from 30 to 1 degree. Okay, and they are joining by their bases. Now as here you can see in the diagram directly, the refracting edges of the biprism, this is it. This refracting edges of the prisms are in front of this source, monochromatic light source, which made to pass through the narrow slit S here. From here, through this slit, light wave is going towards biprism, and when it move towards the biprism, what will happen? The two halves of biprism form a virtual images S1 and also S2, and then it will move towards the screen. So as the light which is passing from slit S, they will falling on biprism or vertices of biprism, and they will be forming virtual images S1 and S2, which will work as a coherent sources of light, and the two waves coming from S1 and S2 will interfere, and they will form interference fringes, which is nothing but this, the fringes which is obtained in this triangle. Some are dark and some are faint, so you're getting this interference band over here. So this is nothing but by using Fresnel biprism. Okay, so this is also very easy. So let's move towards the next point, which is optical path, and which is the last point of this video. Okay, the phase of light wave having angular frequency omega. You have to concentrate for this because it is very tricky. All right, see, phase of light having angular frequency omega, wave vector is k, and when it is traveling in vacuum along the x direction, it will be given as this, which is kx minus omega t. Again I am repeating, k is wave vector, omega is angular frequency, x is the direction along which a wave is traveling, or it is displacement you can say, t is the time. Remember that the wave vector k and angular frequency omega, they should have some relation, and what is the relation between them? That is k is equal to omega upon v, which is nothing but this, which is omega, angular frequency, and what is v over here? That is the speed of wave. When we are considering in vacuum, we consider it as c. So the relation between them is k is equal to omega upon v. Okay, suppose the wave travels a distance delta x, then the phase will change as it covers some distance delta x, so it changes by phase. Delta phi is equal to k delta x, because it is displacing some part. So k delta x, as we know the value for k, which is nothing but omega upon v, and into delta x is there, so you are getting this equation. Omega upon v is nothing but wave vector k, just addition is there, which is delta x. Now if it is traveling in vacuum, then k is given by omega upon c, so this delta phi will be omega delta x upon c. Just we are considering when it is traveling in a medium of some refractive index, and when it is traveling in a vacuum. So in case of vacuum, we are going to consider the speed of wave is as c. Okay, so in the case of wave is traveling in a medium having refractive index n, as just right now I said, the wave vector will be considered as k dash, and that will be k dash is equal to omega upon v, but that v is nothing but c upon n. Why is it so? Because we have to consider the refractive index also, and when it is traveling in vacuum, you have to consider c also. So you are getting k dash as omega upon c by n. So that is nothing but omega n upon c itself. So when the phase difference occurs by delta x, what will happen to it? It will be k dash delta x by using the same formula over here. By using the same formula as we have say here. Same is there. Just we are going to say delta phi dash, which is k dash delta x. What is k dash over here? Omega n upon c. Omega n upon c, and into delta x is there. So omega delta x dash upon c. Now what is a delta x dash over there? It is nothing but n delta x. This term is called as delta x dash. So what you are getting at the end, delta phi dash is equal to delta x dash omega upon c. Alright, then when the wave travels a distance delta x through a medium of refractive index n, it phase changes by some amount. Alright, and the distance should be n delta x. Okay, again I am repeating, if it displaces delta x and it has the refractive index n, then it will be n delta x in vacuum. We can say that path length is delta x for the medium of refractive index n, and if n is equal to 1, when n should be 1, when it is vacuum. In case of vacuum it will be 1. That is nothing but called as optical path. Which is optical path? When path length, which is delta x of in a medium of refractive index n, is equivalent to path length n delta x in vacuum, then n delta x is known as optical path, where n is refractive index and delta x is, what is delta x over here? Delta x is nothing but path length. So refractive index into path length is nothing but optical path, obviously, because the refractive index will give you the idea about optic inside that medium. So this is optical path. Now it is defined as the corresponding path in vacuum that the light travels in the same time as it takes in a given medium. That means optical path is defined as the corresponding path in vacuum that the light travels in the same time when it is going in another medium. Alright, when we are considering vacuum and when we are considering medium, the path should be same. That is known as optical path. Next, now time is nothing but distance upon speed. So t is given as d medium, which is distance in a medium, divided by v medium. In case of vacuum, you can write this as d vacuum divided by v vacuum. But when to find out optical path, which is d vacuum, this is the optical path. So what will be this? You are just going to consider this here. Sorry, what you are going to consider? We are going to consider this side only. So what will be d vacuum over here? D medium into v vacuum divided by v medium. So that's what you are getting over here. V vacuum divided by v medium into d medium by cross multiplying. That's it. We are just shuffling the equation and we are getting value for d vacuum, which is nothing but optical path, which is n d medium. Okay, a distance d is traveled in a medium of refractive index n introduces a path difference, which is n d minus d. Why it is so? Because when we are considering a medium of refractive index n, then it will be n d, and when we are going to consider about a vacuum, n will be 1, as we have say over here. So that will be only d. So n d minus d will be the distance travelled. So it will be d into n minus 1. Okay, so the two waves interfere constructively when their optical path lengths are equal. See, one more condition we got over here. The two wave interfere constructively only when the optical path are equal, or it should differ by integral multiple of wavelength, which is lambda. So this is what about optical path. Okay, so in today's lecture what we have done, we have firstly seen that how the steady interference pattern happens, then how to get the coherent sources by using Lloyd's mirror and by using Fresnel biprism, that also we have seen. Then intensity distribution, that concept we have learned in this video, and also optical path we have discussed. All right, so to get all this concept, the theory which you can get, but the not about the theoretical part but about the numerical part or about the derivations part, you have to practice by your own. Then and only then you are going to consider, or you are going to understand what you are doing. Okay, so this is all about today, and I'm hereby declaring most of the interference concept has been covered in these two lectures, and from tomorrow we are going to learn new concept, which is diffraction of light. All right, okay, so thank you for watching, and I hope you all got all the concept. I know these are very critical concepts which we have done in this video, but you have to practice by your own, then only you will come to know how it is exactly happens. All right, so do practice and do study at home. Be safe, and thank you so much for watching.